The studio lights burned bright, casting a warm glow over the sleek set of the Star Jones show. The audience buzzed with anticipation, their chatter a low hum that filled the air like static before a storm. It was a packed house tonight, every seat filled with fans clutching phones, ready to capture the moment a Hollywood legend stepped onto the stage. The cameras whirred softly, their lenses trained on the empty guest chair. The atmosphere was electric, charged with the promise of a blockbuster interview. But no one, not the audience, not the producers, not even Star Jones herself, could have predicted the firestorm about to erupt. Denzel Washington, the two-time Oscar winner, strode onto the set with his trademark confidence. His tailored navy suit caught the light, and his easy smile sent a ripple of cheers through the crowd. He was there to promote his latest film, a gritty drama about redemption and justice that was already generating Oscar buzz. The audience roared as he waved, his presence commanding yet warm, like a man who knew his worth but didn't need to flaunt it. Star Jones, perched in her host's chair, beamed at him, her signature charm dialed up to 11. "Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Denzel Washington," she announced, and the crowd erupted again. The first few minutes were textbook talk show fare. Denzel settled into the plush guest chair, his posture relaxed but alert, like a boxer before the bell. Star leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with that mix of warmth and mischief that had made her a household name. They bantered about the film, Denzel's preparation for the role, and his storied career. The audience laughed at his anecdotes, charmed by his understated humor. The other co-hosts, veteran journalist Lisa Ling and comedian Sherry Shepard, nodded along, tossing in light questions to keep the vibe breezy. Behind the scenes, producers in the control booth exchanged satisfied glances. This was going exactly as planned. But then, like a crack in a dam, the tone shifted. "Denzel," Star said, her voice taking on a sharper edge, "you've built this incredible career playing these morally complex, heroic characters. But some people say you're selective about your roles to avoid taking real stands in real life. They call you a safe celebrity. What do you say to that?" The question landed like a sucker punch. The audience's chatter died instantly, replaced by a collective intake of breath. Denzel's smile faltered, just for a split second, before he leaned back in his chair, his eyes narrowing slightly. The cameras zoomed in, capturing the subtle tightening of his jaw, the way his fingers tapped once, twice, against the armrest. In the control booth, a producer hissed, "What is she doing?" Lisa Ling shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her smile frozen. Sherry Shepard let out a nervous laugh, trying to defuse the tension. "Oh, Star, you're stirring the pot already," she said, but her voice was strained. Denzel tilted his head, studying Star like a chess player sizing up an opponent. "Safe?" he repeated, his voice low, measured, but carrying a weight that made the studio feel smaller. "I'm not sure who these some people are, Star, but I choose roles that speak to me. Roles that say something about the human condition. I'm not here to play activist on a talk show. I let my work do the talking." The audience murmured, some nodding in agreement, others exchanging glances. Star, undeterred, leaned closer, her manicured nails tapping the desk. "But that's the thing, Denzel. You've got this huge platform, and some critics, respected ones, mind you, say you sidestep the big issues. Like, why not speak out more on systemic racism? Why not march in the streets like some of your peers? Are you afraid of being too controversial?" The air in the studio thickened, heavy with unspoken tension. A woman in the front row clutched her phone, her thumb hovering over the record button. Lisa Ling opened her mouth to interject but hesitated, her eyes darting between Star and Denzel. Sherry's smile vanished entirely, her hands twisting in her lap. In the control booth, the director barked, "Stay on Denzel's face!" as the cameras caught the flicker of something raw in his expression. Anger, yes, but also a deep, weary frustration. Denzel leaned forward now, his elbows resting on his knees, his gaze locked on Star. "You're asking me why I don't perform my activism for the cameras?" His voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. "I've been in this game long enough to know what's real and what's theater. I speak through my art. I tell stories that matter. You want me to march? I've been marching my whole career, through every role, every choice, every time I show up as a black man in this industry and refuse to be anything less than excellent. The audience erupted in applause, some standing, their cheers filling the studio. But Star wasn't done. She raised a hand, silencing the crowd with a practiced ease. That's a beautiful answer, Denzel, but let's be real. Some say you're dodging accountability. You've got wealth, fame, a platform most people dream of. Isn't it a cop-out to say your art is enough? People want you to lead, not just act. The words hung in the air, sharp and accusing. The studio fell silent again, the kind of silence that feels like it's holding its breath. Denzel's face was unreadable, but his eyes burned with something fierce, something that made the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Lisa Ling finally spoke, her voice soft but urgent. Star, I think Denzel's saying his work is his activism. Maybe we can. No, Lisa, let's not sugarcoat it. Star cut in, her tone now openly confrontational. I'm asking what everyone's thinking. Denzel, you're a legend, but are you doing enough? Or are you just coasting on your legacy? The audience gasped, a collective sound that echoed like a thunderclap. Sherry's jaw dropped, her eyes wide as she mouthed, "Oh no." A producer in the booth slammed a fist on the console, muttering, "She's gone too far." The cameras swiveled, catching every angle of the unfolding drama. Denzel's clenched fist, Star's defiant smirk, the audience's mix of shock and fascination. A few people in the back row were already recording, their phones held high. Denzel didn't move for a long moment. Then, slowly, he stood, his 6-foot frame towering over the set. The studio seemed to shrink around him, the lights casting his shadow across the polished floor. He adjusted his suit jacket, a deliberate gesture, and when he spoke, his voice was low, deliberate, cutting through the silence like a blade. Star, I came here to talk about my work, not to be interrogated about my soul, he said. You want to talk about accountability? How about holding yourself accountable for using this platform to tear people down instead of lifting them up? I've spent 40 years building something real. What have you built by asking questions like that? The audience exploded, some cheering, some gasping, a few shouting in protest. Star's face froze, her confident facade cracking just enough to show a flicker of uncertainty. Lisa Ling jumped in, her voice desperate. Okay, let's take a quick break and... But Denzel raised a hand, silencing her. He wasn't done. I'm not here to play your game, he continued, his eyes never leaving Star's. You want a soundbite? You want a viral moment? You're not getting it from me. I'm here to talk about stories that matter, not to be your punching bag for ratings. He turned, his movements deliberate, and walked toward the stage exit. The audience was on its feet now, a chaotic mix of applause and murmurs. A producer sprinted toward the stage, headset bouncing, as the director shouted, "Follow him!" The cameras scrambled to keep up, capturing the moment Denzel paused at the edge of the set, turning back to face the audience. This is what I'll leave you with, he said, his voice steady but carrying a weight that silenced the room. You don't measure a man's impact by how loud he shouts. You measure it by what he builds, what he stands for, and what he leaves behind. I'm proud of my work, and I don't need anyone's permission to keep doing it. With that, he walked off, his footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. The studio was a frozen tableau, portal. Star Jones sat motionless, her expression a mix of shock and defiance. Lisa Ling and Sherry Shepard exchanged wide-eyed glances, unsure whether to speak. The audience was a sea of raised phones, capturing every second of the moment that was already destined to go viral. As the stage lights dimmed for a commercial break, the control booth was in chaos. Get that clip ready for upload, a producer shouted. This is going everywhere. Social media was already lighting up, with hashtags like #DenzelWalksOut and #StarJonesClash trending within minutes. The internet was about to explode, and the question on everyone's mind was, who was right? Was Denzel justified in his exit, or did Star's questions strike a nerve? What do you think? Was Denzel right to walk out, or should he have stayed to face the challenge? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more unforgettable moments like this one. The commercial break on the Star Jones show felt like an eternity, though it lasted only 3 minutes. The studio audience sat in stunned silence, their phones still glowing as they furiously typed reactions, uploaded clips, and debated what they'd just witnessed. The air was thick with tension, the kind that lingers after a storm passes but leaves the sky heavy with the threat of more. In the control booth, producers scrambled, their voices a chaotic hum over headsets. "We're trending #1 on X!" one shouted, while another barked. "Get Star prepped for damage control!" The cameras, still rolling, caught the aftermath, Star Jones adjusting her posture, her lips pursed, her eyes darting to the side as if searching for an escape. Lisa Ling and Sherry Shepard whispered urgently to each other, their faces a mix of shock and unease. Backstage, Denzel Washington stood in the dimly lit hallway, his hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. A young production assistant hovered nearby, unsure whether to approach the legend who had just walked off the set. "Mr. Washington, do you need anything?" she stammered, clutching her clipboard. Denzel gave her a small, tired smile. "I'm good, kid," he said, his voice soft but firm. "Just need a minute." He wasn't angry, not visibly, but there was a weight to him, a quiet resolve that seemed to anchor the chaos around him. On the set, the show's theme music swelled, signaling the end of the break. The audience's murmur grew louder, a mix of excitement and apprehension. Star Jones straightened in her chair, her professional smile snapping back into place like a mask. She glanced at the empty guest chair where Denzel had sat moments ago, then at the audience, who were watching her every move. "Well, folks," she began, her voice bright but strained, "that was unexpected." A few nervous laughs rippled through the crowd. "But this is live TV, and sometimes things get real. Let's talk about what just happened." Lisa Ling jumped in, her tone conciliatory. "Star, I think Denzel felt ambushed. His work does speak volumes. Maybe we didn't give him a chance to unpack that." Sherry Shepard nodded vigorously, seizing the opportunity to lighten the mood. "Yeah, I mean, the man's got 2 Oscars. I'd say he's doing something right." The audience chuckled, but the laughter was hesitant, as if they were still processing the weight of Denzel's exit. Star, however, doubled down. "Look, I'm just asking the questions people want answers to," she said, her hands spread wide in a gesture of faux innocence. "He's a public figure. If you step into the spotlight, you've got to expect tough questions." "Right." She turned to the audience, seeking validation, but the response was mixed. Some clapped, others sat stone-faced, and a few shook their heads. A man in the third row whispered to his neighbor, "She went too far." The cameras caught it all, the division in the room palpable. In the control booth, the director groaned. "She's digging herself deeper," he muttered, rubbing his temples. A producer scrolled through X on her tablet, her eyes widening. "The comments are brutal," she said. "Half are calling Star a bully, half are saying Denzel overreacted. This is going viral fast." The hashtag Denzel walks out was now trending globally, with clips of the confrontation racking up millions of views. Memes were already circulating. One showed Denzel's steely glare with the caption, "When you come for the king, you better not miss." Back on the set, Star pivoted, sensing the need to regain control. "Let's be clear," she said, her voice softening slightly. "I respect Denzel's work. I do. But we have a responsibility to ask the hard questions, to hold people accountable. Isn't that what this platform is for?" She looked directly into the camera, her eyes gleaming with conviction. "I'm not here to tear anyone down. I'm here to start a conversation." The audience's reaction was split again. Some applauded, others murmured skeptically. Lisa Ling leaned forward, her voice gentle but firm. "I think the conversation is important, Star, but it's also about how we have it. Respect matters, you know?" Sherry nodded, adding, "Yeah, and Denzel's been out here giving us stories that make us feel something. That's not nothing." The crowd clapped more enthusiastically this time, and Star's smile tightened, just for a moment. Backstage, Denzel's phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it, his gaze fixed on a blank wall as if replaying the moment in his mind. The production assistant, still hovering, hesitated before speaking again. "Mr. Washington, they're asking if you'll come back out. Just to wrap things up." Denzel chuckled, a low, humorless sound. "Wrap things up?" he repeated, shaking his head. "They got what they wanted. I said what I needed to say." But the story wasn't over. As the show continued, the tension on set remained palpable. Star shifted topics, moving to a lighter segment about celebrity fashion, but her usual charisma felt forced. The audience was distracted, their phones lighting up with notifications as the online debate raged. Some praised Denzel's dignity, calling his walkout a masterclass in standing up for oneself. Others criticized him, arguing he dodged accountability by refusing to engage. Star, meanwhile, was being painted as both a fearless journalist and a ratings-hungry provocateur. In the final minutes of the show, Star addressed the elephant in the room. "Before we go," she said, her voice steady but tinged with something softer, regret perhaps, "I want to say that I admire Denzel Washington. Always have. My job is to ask questions that spark discussion, and maybe tonight we sparked a bigger one than I expected." She paused, letting the words settle. "What do you all think? Was I too tough, or was Denzel too quick to walk away? Let's keep this conversation going. Hit us up on social media with your thoughts." The audience clapped, but the applause was polite, not thunderous. As the credits rolled, the cameras panned across the set, catching Lisa Ling's thoughtful expression, Sherry Shepard's forced smile, and Star's unyielding confidence. The moment was already cemented in television history, a clash that would be dissected for weeks to come. In the days that followed, the fallout was seismic. News outlets ran headlines like, "Denzel Washington storms off Star Jones show," and "Star Jones sparks controversy with Hollywood legend." Pundits debated the ethics of ambush journalism, while fans rallied around Denzel, praising his refusal to be baited. On X, the discourse was relentless. Some users called Star a truth-teller who held power to account, while others accused her of crossing a line into personal attack. Denzel, true to form, stayed silent, letting his walkout speak for itself. The deeper lesson began to emerge in the public conversation. Denzel's words, about measuring a person's impact by what they build, not how loud they shout, resonated with those who saw his career as a testament to quiet, consistent excellence. Star's insistence on accountability sparked discussions about the role of public figures in activism, but it also raised questions about respect and intent. Was her goal to provoke thought or to chase clout? The answer wasn't clear, and that ambiguity fueled the fire. As the dust settled, one thing was certain: this moment had changed something. For Denzel, it was a reaffirmation of his principles, a reminder that his legacy didn't need defending on someone else's terms. For Star, it was a gamble that had both elevated her show's profile and exposed her to criticism. And for the audience, both in the studio and online, it was a call to reflect: how do we balance accountability with respect? Can art be enough, or do we demand more from those in the spotlight? What do you think? Was Denzel right to walk away, or should he have stayed to fight his corner? Was Star Jones out of line, or was she doing her job? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more stories that make you think, feel, and talk.